Good afternoon. I'm George Latimer, Westchester County Executive. It is Monday, July 19th, and this is our Westchester Weekly Update. We'll be talking with Kevin Hanson, who's the town supervisor of the town of Pound Ridge, in a few minutes as part of our programs where we provide updates, but we invite in the leaders of various towns, cities, and villages to join us. Kevin will be with us in a few seconds. In the meantime, we're going to open with the news that's on everybody's mind, which is the increased uptick in COVID active cases. The tracker information that we have from the state government as of yesterday, Sunday, July 18th, shows that we have 130,387 pandemic to date positive tests for COVID, and of that total, 460 are active cases that are currently people who have not yet cleared the 2-week period for COVID. That number compares poorly to where we were a month ago. On the 18th of June, we had 257 active cases, and at that point in time, that number was dropping to a point where in the intervening month, we were as low as about 175 cases. But that number has swollen over the last few weeks, and we have seen an increase in the number of positive tests. We were at points where we had single digits in positive tests, and now over the last 3 days, we've had 153 positive tests over the course of time. The concerns that we have, I think, pivot off of the concern from our understanding that the Delta variant is now widespread across the United States and is a more communicable form of the disease. Medical science has not yet shown us that it is a more severe type of infection variant. It hasn't yet shown us that our vaccines are resistant, or that the variant is resistant to the vaccines that we currently have, and it also does not show that the severity of the illness leads to hospitalizations or fatalities. But it apparently is extremely communicable, and that is why people, probably those who are unvaccinated, are the ones that are now adding to the higher number of infections. It is not possible for us to report on whether or not those that test positive or are hospitalized or pass away were vaccinated. That information, according to our understanding of the federal HIPAA laws, protect that type of information from being shared publicly. We, as a county government, do not know whether or not that is the case, but we presume that is the case because here in Westchester County alone, we have 78.3% of our population 18 years of age and older that have been vaccinated. That number compares favorably to the New York State numbers and to all of our neighboring counties, with the exception of Nassau County, that's a little ahead of us. But at 78.3%, that means that there's 21% of the individuals that have not yet been vaccinated with even one shot of the vaccines, of any of the 3 types of vaccines, Moderna, Pfizer, or Johnson & Johnson. So our concern is that the unvaccinated portion of our population is subject to a more highly contagious variant of the disease, and that is why we're seeing jump ups in the number of positive infections. And to give you the sense of that, we had 55 positive infections on Sunday, we had 51 on Saturday, we had 47 on Friday. If we go back a month ago, we had 12 on the 17th of June, we had 14 on the 18th of June, and we had 22 on the 19th of June. So a month later, those numbers are significantly higher, and they are concerning. However, we still track with some degree of comfort the number of people that have been hospitalized. We're down to 12 people that are hospitalized right now for COVID, and that number compares favorably to where we were a month ago when we had 19 people. And then, of course, if you go back to mid-January, we're in the peak of this second round of the impact of COVID when we had 588 people hospitalized for COVID. So to be at 12 people hospitalized in our 11 hospitals across Westchester County is a good and encouraging number. And we have not seen an increase in hospitalizations proportionate to the increase in infections. The number of fatalities have remained relatively low. Every fatality is a tragedy. We never mean to turn a fatality into a statistic. However, over the last month, we have lost 4 people to COVID over the course of a month. And we've gone actually the better part of the last 3 weeks without any fatalities, 1 fatality in the last 3 weeks. So we're encouraged by that number, and it does seem to track what we've been told nationally, which is, again, that the Delta variant is more communicable, but not necessarily more severe. But we're going to continue to look at that, and we know that Westchester, as I've said often, is not an island. We do not have a moat around us. People who live in this county constantly move over dotted lines into other jurisdictions, and people from other places come here to work, come here for other purposes. So if we have different vaccination numbers in the Bronx and Rockland and Orange and in other places around us, Fairfield County, Manhattan, those numbers matter to us, even as our own numbers matter to us. So we're hopeful that as we continue to go forward, we will see more of an effort as we are trying to make to get more people vaccinated. It is clear to us from the drop that we had from January to today, the more vaccinations we have, the less the spread will be. And even at these higher numbers of 50-plus people a day, that is well below the numbers when we saw triple digits of people that were infected day over day, which really grew the ranks of those that were in active cases. Our vaccination efforts have changed because the demand has changed. If you go back to the first quarter of the year in January, February, and March, the pent-up demand for people to be vaccinated was very high. And people were waiting, and they were getting appointments that were 2 months away. Some people went to distant locations within the state to become vaccinated. And now we're at a point where vaccinations are plentiful and easily achieved. The county center remains open for vaccinations. You can walk in, and you can also make an appointment in advance. The hours have been reduced on Sunday to a half a day. It's still open 7 days a week, and 6 of those days the center is open from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. But on Sunday, it's been reduced from 8 a.m. to 12 noon, so half a day on Sunday. And just to give you an example of it, we have vaccinated up to 2,200 people there in a single day. Yesterday, Sunday the 18th, we vaccinated 68 individuals, 7 of whom were walk-ins, and who fell into that younger age category from 12 to 15 that were not eligible previously. So clearly the demand is dramatically down. To have 68 people vaccinated where once we had 2,200 tells you that we have reached almost exactly the point at which everybody who's eligible for a vaccination and wants a vaccination have received a vaccination, and those people that have not yet been vaccinated, the 21% or so, are those who apparently choose not to be vaccinated. We are still trying to make vaccinations available to people by going outside of our normal locations. Our normal locations are the Westchester County Center, which is on the White Plains-Greenburgh border. We have our health clinic in downtown White Plains at 134 Court Street. We have our health clinic in Yonkers that has been open for vaccinations, and that is located right in downtown Yonkers. So those locations continue to be open and available in our various clinics. We know that there are still vaccinations that are available at some of the local pharmacies. Those numbers have dropped dramatically, and where we have a need for in-home vaccinations, we can dispatch a group of people to be able to do that in one part of the county or another. So everyone who wants a vaccination should not find it difficult to do so. They do need to pick up the phone and call and reach out to us in the county government, and we'll be happy to try to help in that fashion. We are concerned, however, that if we've reached a practical maximum just shy of 80%, and we hope that we will exceed the 80% number, that 20% cohort really needs to grasp what is at stake here with this Delta variant, and that more people will be affected by it. And you need to be thinking not just about yourself, but about the people you come in contact with. If you are a certain age, a certain level of health, you may believe that you're not going to be really subject to a severe bout of the disease. But when you're in that communicable stage, you might give that disease to everybody else in your universe. And any one of those individuals might be more vulnerable to the disease than you are. We also have to remember the vaccinations that we take are generally perceived to be over 90% effective. But if they're 95% effective, that still means 1 out of every 20 people might yet be affected by the disease, even though they've been vaccinated. So we have to make sure that people understand that we are not out of the woods on this. We have not yet made any decisions at the county level of government to ramp back up closing down of any facilities or closing down of any operations that are within our control. We have not yet made decisions that would reduce the in-workspace use of those employers who are here in the county or ourselves as a county employer. We have not yet made any mask requirements happen. We have not yet reached the point which has reached that crisis sense that we might have. But we're moving in the wrong direction in terms of total infections, and so we're going to try to do everything we can to get more people vaccinated. We have established a couple of additional pop-up locations or satellite locations that are coming. We have coming up on the 20th, which is Tuesday, tomorrow, from 3:30 to 7:30, at the Westchester Community College Mount Vernon Extension Center. That's at 17 South 5th Avenue on the south side of Mount Vernon between 1st Street and 2nd Street. Ample parking across the street. So for that 4-hour period, there will be administration of vaccines, Pfizer vaccines, in Mount Vernon tomorrow, 3:30 to 7:30. On Thursday, from 3:30 to 7:30, the vaccines will be available at the Westchester Community College Ossining Extension Center. That's located at 22 Rockledge Avenue in Ossining. That's this coming Thursday. And then a week from Saturday, we will have vaccinations available from 9 to 12 in the village of Tuckahoe at the Tuckahoe Community Center, 71 Columbus Avenue in Tuckahoe. And we are prepared to establish additional satellite or pop-up vaccination centers as the need becomes apparent for that. That, along with our Yonkers clinic located at 20 South Broadway, they're available for vaccinations Monday through Thursday in the evenings, 4 to 7. That begins a week from today. And back to school childhood immunizations are also available, but you need an appointment. Call 995-5800, 995-5800 for any of the appointments that you make. These satellite locations or our clinics, the county center, they're all available with those vaccinations so that those people who are unvaccinated can do so and help protect themselves from the virus. We are concerned about what we're seeing. We hope that we won't have to close things down that we've just opened up. We know that people are really desirous of having a return to normalcy. I feel that same feeling that other people do, but it really will depend on the spread of the infection and whether or not this spread now continues to grow in a way that we get back up to 1,000 active cases, which we hope we will not see. Next, I'd like to segue to Town Supervisor Kevin Hanson, Supervisor of the Town of Pound Ridge. He is serving in his second term as Town Supervisor. And Pound Ridge is a lovely community that's in the northeastern part of the county. It's off the major interstate highway path. So you need to go east of I-684 or north of the Merritt Parkway, which is the extension of the Hutch, in order to find Pound Ridge, to find Scott's Corners and some of the other lovely elements of this community. It is a fairly lightly populated area, but it has very high quality services, a wonderful town park, on occasion Friday night food truck event, and really a very strong small town living complement that makes people very happy to live there. Really famous people live in Pound Ridge, although when they're there they like to carry a low profile so that they can come and go as we all do and enjoy them. The supervisor for the town is Kevin Hanson. As I've said, he's serving his second term. He's been a good friend, a good partner on these issues. So Kevin, please join us here and tell us a little bit more about where we are in Pound Ridge today. And thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me here very much. It's not often I get to come down here to White Plains on these type of events. Let me just start with COVID a little bit. I could just tell you a couple things about Pound Ridge relates to COVID, because as George said, we are a little bit more dispersed in our areas there. People live 2 to 3 acres away, 4 acres away. But we still consistently were able, all throughout the past year, keep the number of cases in Pound Ridge really, really low to a minimum. And that's really a testament to the residents of Pound Ridge. They really took the COVID seriously. They sheltered in place. They did everything necessary to stay safe. And it's a real compliment also to our police, our fire, and our OEM volunteers who really rallied together when COVID first hit and the first few months about it, when there was so much unknown about it and so many people were scared, that they got together and really took over a supermarket so that we could really make sure that our seniors did not need to shop, that they set up shopping situations where they could do even home delivery for seniors. So we kept everybody with vulnerable conditions away from group activities, and I think that tremendously kept it down, if not even saved lives. And so I had a ceremony recently for all our first responders, and I had to thank them tremendously because Pound Ridge was always on the lowest. I think right now we may only have 1 or 2 active cases. So as a result, as you said, Pound Ridge is kind of now more on the coming out of things right now. And we have, such a beautiful restaurant like the John George restaurant there. We've also got the state-of-the-art golf course there with the Pound Ridge golf course there. that are all doing extremely well. People are flourishing. They want to get out. We're also one of the few municipalities that we reluctantly, and I don't want to say canceled our fireworks. We didn't. We just delayed them. And so we are actually now next month going to actually be doing our fireworks in August for the first time ever. So people are real excited about that. They're also very excited about Labor Day events that we're trying to do, as well as George mentioned Food Truck Friday, because we do try to have, when you live the kind of a little bit of separation as we are with the different acreage, to have some type of community events. But we also know the reality is that, particularly speaking as a town government, that COVID could come back. And it doesn't take you much to watch the news to realize we're keeping all our procedures in place. We're being very aware. We know that the employees may have to continue to work remote, and as that, so we are keeping our eye on that, because we want to make sure we continue to have a list, whether or not there's going to be booster shots, everything else related to COVID coming down the pipeline. We want to make sure that Pound Ridge is ready for it. And again, Pound Ridge, just being a little bit more of the nature of the thing, is used to being a little bit self-sufficient and self-dependent. But in this situation, we are really keeping our eye out. But we're really optimistic that we can get through this. I mean, we just know everybody wants to get through this, and how could you not? Wouldn't you want to stop having to do these every week? And right. Because we both know in government there's so many other things that we could be working on. And, and those things we are also working on in Pound Ridge. We're restarting a lot of these initiatives that seem to have stopped over the past year. So thank you. And I do have to thank the county. I do really appreciate the county calls that they've been doing. Those have been extremely helpful to hear from the other municipalities about how they're handling and how they handled different issues. And I like the way that it's transitioned. It came together, it's COVID, but now we're getting into so many other topics. And it's good. And it's good to see that we're all working together. It doesn't matter party. It just says how we can best serve the people in our communities. And so I'm very appreciative of you guys doing that. So thank you for having me here.
Great. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's Kevin Hanson, who's the supervisor of the town of Pound Ridge. We're grateful for him to be with us today, and in each of these updates, as we have different municipal officials join us. We do have our municipal call today every other Monday at 3:30, where representatives of the towns and villages and cities, our county legislators, and our state legislative delegation all join together in a call where we exchange information. Government has a reputation of being impossible to work through the different levels and the bureaucracy, and of course the partisanship that exists between the political parties. But I think we've made a legitimate effort through COVID and prior and subsequently to form as much of a working combination to solve problems. We might have differences on philosophies, but we still try at the end of the day to deliver the services that people want. I think that's what they expect out of us. And I think that whether it's as big as Yonkers or as small as Pound Ridge or North Salem, this county has to function as a regional partner to all of the local governments. You make the decisions that you need to make for your community, but we also work in that larger family to try to solve problems that are bigger than us, bigger than any one town, bigger even than the county. So, but Kevin, thank you for being a good partner, and my best to your colleagues on the town board and our friends in Pound Ridge, and we'll see you in Scott's Corners before too long. So thank you again. Mentioned a few other topics before we part company today. We have the county dashboard that we try to update on a regular basis. In fact, when we give this update in real time at 2 o'clock, if you're watching us live, you might see this on tape if you run the tape later on. Many times that is when the state government updates the state dashboard, right as we're doing this update. And so it may very well be some of the numbers that I've shared that are reported out will change from what you see on the dashboard to what I've said here. But we try to keep that on an ongoing basis. It gives certain information about both the positive infection numbers as well as the vaccination numbers. You can find it by going to our website, westchestergov.com. Gov is spelled G-O-V, westchestergov.com, and you'll connect to it. And that vaccination rate and everything else is updated in real time from information that's available from the state of New York. As I've mentioned before, all entities reported to the state. Hospitals, nursing homes, testing centers, vaccination centers, their statistics and data, wherever they're located in Westchester or any place else in the state, send their details and information into the state. The state puts it up on the dashboard. We retrieve it to give you a local footprint and break it down into some of the component pieces. And with whatever specificity we get the data, that is the same degree by which we break it down and present it to you. So you as an individual will know as much as we know about what's happening statistically. And you can find that now that we've created that dashboard for the last month and a half. You can go on any time. You don't have to wait for any report that we send out on a daily basis. You can go on and take a look at that and get some of the information relative to COVID that you'd like to have. I will repeat again the telephone hotline for the Department of Health. This is an opportunity for an individual to speak one-on-one with a nurse or a doctor about any COVID-19 related questions. In the beginning of this process, the questions were multiple and we'd be swamped with this kind of an offer. Now they're much more specialized questions when people have been vaccinated. They have some very specific questions. You can dial 995-5800 and be connected to a medical professional. The services are provided in English and in Spanish for those who are more comfortable in either of those two languages. I want to highlight a few other issues that have been happening in Westchester County over the weekend. Some of them are good news, some of them are not great news, but we would try to respond to all types of issues before us. First of all, we've seen an explosion in the use of our parks over this period of time. It's true a year ago, and it's true, we think, as well this year. And when we look at what happens over a weekend, we have now 3 beaches that are up and operative: Glen Island, Playland, and Croton Point Park. We have 4 pools, public pools that are open: Saxon Woods in White Plains, Wilson Woods in Mount Vernon, Tibbetts Brook Pool and Sprain Ridge Pools, both in the city of Yonkers. We have 6 golf courses. I won't mention all of them, but there are 2 in the north and 2 in Yonkers and 2 in the South Shore. And of course, Playland Amusement Park, for which there is no other equal or comparable that is now open and operative. Over the course of the weekend, we've had the usual closure or loss of attendance based on weather conditions. When it rains or there's lightning, then various outdoor activities will be shut down. Generally speaking, golf operates very early in the morning and peters out before you get to late in the evening. There's no nighttime golf. Most of the rest of the other facilities open up 10 o'clock in the morning and then go on, in some cases, late into the evening. We have reestablished fireworks at Playland every Friday night, weather permitting. The first week we had it scheduled for July 9th, but it rained on the 9th, so it rolled over one night into the 10th, Saturday the 10th. And just as Kevin said, the sort of magnificent fireworks that we do around Independence Day will be postponed. We will do that type of performance around Labor Day. We'll make a formal announcement since we're still a month plus away from when Labor Day falls. Overall, our attendance at the various pools is up significantly over a year ago. Most of that represents increased capacity, that we're able now to accommodate more people at the pools. So the year-to-date figures of uses of our pools, over 61,000 visitors, where a year ago we were at 39,700 visitors. And of course, last year we weren't sure that we could open the pools at all. We were able to open them last year, and we've had an uptick. Our beaches, 29,000 plus visitors. Now, we have lost the full capacity that we would have had by losing Glen Island. So the Glen Island beach being out of the inventory means that our numbers on the beach side are down from last year. Last year and the year before that, Glen Island was not operative and then operative in 19, so it skews the numbers there. We have Glen Island back. I will mention in a few seconds about an incident we had in New Rochelle that did require us to close Glen Island Beach for part of Saturday, so that reduced some of the numbers. Our Playland numbers, last year were closed. This year we're approaching 100,000 visitors that have come so far. We will not reach the numbers that we have had in past years, over 500, 600,000 visitors, primarily because we opened late this year. We could not open as early as we normally did. There was a ban on opening amusement parks that was lifted and then required us the time to get ready. And it takes a good month, month and a half to get Playland ready to be open. But we are pleased that we're approaching the 100,000 visitors mark, and the individual days, the individual weeks have been very good attendance. And our golf rounds, once again, are exceeding all expectations. A year ago, we had the strongest golf year that we've had in 20 years. overall with 700 rounds of golf. And the golf season, of course, starts earlier in the year and goes later in the year than the other outdoor activities. A year ago to this point, we had 124,000 rounds of golf. This year, we have 128,000 rounds of golf at our 6 public golf courses. So that is working out very well for us. And our Bicycle Sunday program continues through the month of July and August. Through September and October, we'll be off on Labor Day Sunday weekend. But all the other Sundays, it's open, and we're getting a great response. Best 2 years of Bicycle Sunday that we've ever had because we've had extended amount of days. And once again, a good, healthy recreation that does not advance the spread. So I mentioned that we had some issues in New Rochelle this weekend. There were 2 problems that developed both on Saturday. Con Edison had a problem with one of their power lines. It exposed a certain amount of oil used to cool the lines themselves that went out into the New Rochelle Harbor. And Con Edison was responsible for the cleanup of that. The cleanup has not been fully completed yet. Because it is a spill into a body of water, New York State Department of Environmental Conservation came in to supervise that work, and that work is ongoing as we speak today. And separate from that, there was a water main break by Suez Water, which is the water supplier for New Rochelle, that created a lack of water at Glen Island, and the combination of those things, two things, had us close Glen Island earlier than was planned on Saturday, but it did reopen on Sunday. The water capacity from the water main line was rerouted and able to reach its usage as Glen Island, and there was no impact of the pollution that went into the New Rochelle Harbor that affected those who went to Glen Island, which is on the eastern side of the island itself, Glen Island, so it's away from where the site of the spill was. But in both of those cases, we have county health department, senior sanitarians going out to look at the situation and then making a decision whether or not it is safe to open Glen Island. And we were assured yesterday that when we open the beach and when it's opened later this week, that it will be safe for all swimmers to go. There was a lot of misinformation that bounces around. As we know, we go into social media. Somebody hears something and they put it down on social media. We assume it's a fact, and then it may not turn out to be a fact. So we have to sort of cut through all of the the rumor mill to get to the hard and actual fact. But in one case, Con Edison, in the other case, Suez Water, are the respective utilities. They have done or are in the process of completing the cleanups, and we're working to make sure that all of the facility, the waterfront usages are back online, not just Glen Island, but the rest throughout Westchester County. We've also had an emergency situation in the city of Mount Vernon. They've had some profound difficulties that really we can't discuss in any kind of justice fashion now, but they've had some problems with the pickup of garbage in that city. The mayor declared a state of emergency. The county's role, we don't have a garbage collection function in the county. We transport garbage from waste transfer stations to Charles Point, but we do not have the kind of vehicles that go up and down the street and accumulate garbage from the front of your homes. So Mount Vernon was able to get some cooperation from the city of Yonkers and the city of New York to accomplish that function and have the actual garbage trucks out there. But they bring the garbage to a transfer station in Mount Vernon, and the county takes over the transfer of the garbage and the recyclables, and we bring them to the respective sources. We kept our facilities open after hours, which absorbs a certain amount of overtime salary in order to accommodate the fact that they spent Saturday collecting garbage for the people in the city of Mount Vernon. Obviously, as Mount Vernon works through those issues, the county wants to be a good partner, as we do with every municipality. And as Mount Vernon tries to work through these situations, we try to be helpful in every way we can. So with that, we've exhausted some of the key topics that we wanted to mention. We will continue to provide these updates on a once-a-week basis, Mondays at 2 o'clock, but we will have a variety of other updates and other press information over the course of a week. So as you look at our Facebook page, as you communicate with us, and as we deal with the media, we're happy to try to be helpful in that regard. We have here today both Lisa Reyes and Joe Scamato from our communications team. If there's any members of the media that have a question that won't be posed now, we welcome you to reach out to either Joe or to Lisa. The general number here is 995-2900. They'll be happy to accommodate any questions you have. I'll check with Joe to see if we have any current questions. We have a question? Yes, go ahead.
One question from Martin Wilbur at the Examiner News. With the vaccination rate of just under 80%, are there any other strategies the county can try to get the remaining 20% vaccinated?
Well, Martin Wilbur from the Examiner news publications, we are trying to customize strategies around specific municipalities that have low turnout numbers. We have a number of communities with very high turnout numbers, well above 80%. So we're targeting those communities. They generally are communities that are more urbanized, that have a higher percentage of people who are poor. And in some cases, at the other end of the spectrum, we have people who are in a somewhat more rural setting and are also seemingly less willing to get vaccinated. So we're trying to customize strategies around those communities. We had a conversation with representatives of the city of Peekskill. It's an area that we want to try to raise a higher number of vaccinations and then customize some effort of outreach that makes sense to Peekskill given its community resources, the medical facilities that are there, the New York Presbyterian Hospital, Hudson Valley Hospital that's there, the local neighborhood health center that's there, and to try to mesh those things. Similarly in the city of Mount Vernon, similarly in sections of Yonkers and some other areas. It's very difficult though because we're trying to pinpoint localized geographic areas where we have to go in, try to make vaccinations available to them, but then also try to overcome the skepticism. Some of the skepticism comes from just a general distrust of anything that any government does. Sometimes that's reinforced by the things you read. When you consult Dr. Google, you will tend to believe what you read there rather than what a medical professional will tell you. And we all approach this from different, philosophies. There are certain philosophies out there that still minimize what the impact of this is and argues that, the vaccination process has some harmful side effects that they can't prove, but they assert will be there for the future. And then just some folks who don't believe in vaccinations at all. I try not to categorize a person's belief. It's a free country. You have a right to draw your own judgments. The reality, though, is that this is a pandemic that has taken 2,300 lives in Westchester County, slightly below that number. This is not just a debating point when two people have different ideologies and we argue about whether we should do this policy or that policy. There is a direct correlation between vaccinations rise and the drop in the number of infections. Vaccinations rise, and there's a direct correlation in the drop in the number of people hospitalized, a drop in the number of people of fatality. Those aren't debatable points. Those are actual facts. Now, it may be that sometimes facts don't matter in a political argument because you believe something, and that belief is stronger than the facts. But in this particular case, to the extent that we can target making vaccines available, that we can bring credible spokespeople to the table, people who share the demographics of those individuals, nurses, doctors, people who are professionals that they rely on, perhaps members of the clergy, other members of the community. We're going to try to do those things in greater effort. But we do think we're at a point of diminishing returns because it's going to take a lot more effort to try to find 5 people to be vaccinated when a similar effort might have gotten 500 people vaccinated in the period of time leading up to this. So we will get less results for the same or more effort. But we're going to do everything we can to raise the vaccination numbers as high as we can, and we think that's the best way to protect people. And by the way, I'm not a scientist, nor am I a medical professional. I am reading, as any layman does, objective information about the vaccination process. I've been vaccinated. I went through the period. I had the sore arm like everybody did. Some people had a bad reaction. I did not. But I have put my own self behind these things that I'm saying. And, I look back on my youth when I was a young boy and I was vaccinated against every disease you could think of, mumps, measles, chicken pox, whooping cough. And I didn't want to take a vaccine. I was a little kid. The last thing I wanted to do was have my mother drag me to the doctors to get vaccinated. But those vaccinations occurred, and I missed having the vast majority of those diseases, or if I had them, they didn't affect me seriously. So my personal experience has led me to have confidence in the medical community. It's up to you to decide what you have confidence in. 8 out of every 10 Westchester residents appear to have confidence in medical facts and scientific information. And the 2 out of 10 that do not, we'll try to make it as available for you as we can, but watch the movement of the virus. And if the virus now is starting to resurge amongst people who are not vaccinated, then that pretty much tells you the fact that you really need to know. You put yourself in jeopardy unnecessarily. 10 months ago, there was no vaccination. We had no way to fight this disease. We now have a vaccination, and someone has to really give me a strong reason why you shouldn't be vaccinated, because I haven't heard it yet. This vaccination is the difference between being sick or not, living or dying in some cases. There are people all around the world who would gladly take the unused vaccines that we still have in our possession, waiting to get the 85th percent and the 90th percent of Westchester residents. And there's a part of me that says, you don't want to take it? Don't take it. We'll ship it where it's needed, someplace else in the world, where people will take it. They'll be grateful to have it. It will help save lives, and it will accomplish its purpose. We're a free country. You're entitled to free thought. We'll try to target our work and see if we can get a little bit higher than the numbers we have now. No other questions? With that, I thank you for watching. Again, we'll be back next Monday at 2 o'clock. We'll give you an update on whatever there is to tell you. If any news breaks more urgently, we'll certainly share it with you, although our fine news people in both the print and electronic journalism will no doubt tell you before I come back by next Monday. Have a wonderful week. Stay safe, and we'll see you then.